All right, let's continue our mini lessons with validation. Guys, in predictive part of the project, we had a process called validate scope. In that process, stakeholders tested and inspected the verified deliverables, and if they meet the acceptance criteria, the verified deliverables will be converted into accepted deliverables. Same thing goes here, okay? In a sprint review, we demo the working features and increments, and the stakeholders test the features, and if the feature meets the intended expectations, meets the AC. Remember in product backlog, we had a column called AC for each user story. And AC is the acceptance criteria, is conditions that user story need to meet, so stakeholders and customer consider that user story and feature as done, okay? In a sprint review, stakeholders will test and see if the feature meets AC or not. If it meets, all good. We consider that user story as done. If it does not meet, stakeholders will reject and give feedback to the development team. And guys, product backlog refinement, okay, or backlog grooming is tightly connected to this ceremony, to a sprint review ceremony, because in a sprint review, we're gonna get some feedback. We show the working increments to stakeholders and we get feedback. Now, if the features are accepted, we update the product backlog, we update that user story and check mark that user story as done. If stakeholders reject our feature, reject our working increment, we get feedback. Why did you reject it? And they may say, okay, it didn't do what was expected, so I rejected it. So we update product backlog and we make sure that for the next sprint, we're gonna work on this rejected feature. And in sprint reviews, sometimes there are new ideas that come into the mind of stakeholders, customers, or product owner. Hey, now that you showed me this feature, what if we add this feature also? So that new idea will be documented in product backlog. Guys, as I told you before, backlog grooming, backlog refinement is super important. Product owner needs to constantly review product backlog. The priorities of user stories change constantly. New ideas comes in that needs to be added to product backlog. Feedback of the current user stories need to be added to product backlog. That's why product backlog refinement is really tied to sprint review sessions. Awesome. Now let's wrap up this part of scope management in adaptive projects with a beautiful mini question. Let's get it done together. All right, let's get this mini question done. You are a project manager supporting an agile team during a sprint review. The team demonstrates a completed increment, but a key stakeholder rejects it, stating that it does not meet their expectations. The PO notes that the AC acceptance criteria were met as originally defined, but the stakeholder insists those criteria were not what they actually needed. The team is confused and stakeholder demands immediate corrections before the next release. What should you do first? Wow, what a challenge, guys. A, ask the team to reopen the completed user story and fix the stakeholders' concerns immediately before closing the sprint. B, ask the product owner to modify the acceptance criteria retroactively so the increment can be considered accepted. C, recommend canceling the current sprint since the stakeholder is dissatisfied and the direction may need to change. And D, facilitate clarification between stakeholders and PO so the unmet needs can be documented as new or updated backlog items for prioritization. Good question, good challenge. And this challenge may happen in real life projects. Feel free to pause the video and get me the right option yourself. And guys, always remember MEAT, okay? MEAT, identify the problem, analyze the impact, and take action. What's the problem, guys? So we are in a sprint review ceremony. Our team demonstrates a working increment features, but the stakeholders say, hey, you know what? I want to reject it. After testing, stakeholder says, I want to reject it. I don't like it. It doesn't meet my expectation. PO says, hey, but this meets the AC acceptance criteria documented in product backlog. Now, what should you do here? Let's go through the options. Option A says, ask the team to reopen the completed user story. Guys, as I told you before, Agile has some disciplines, okay? Reopening a closed and done thing violates that discipline. Extending, for example, sprint length violates that discipline. Exceeding from that 15-minute daily stand-ups violates that disciplines, okay? You, as a project manager or scrum master, you need to make sure that the team does not violate these agile disciplines. Because if somebody violates disciplines once, it will happen again and everything will be out of your control, okay? So, although we have flexibility in adaptive projects, but we have structure in that flexibility. Option A, I don't like it because reopening done work breaks the definition of done and undermines agile discipline. And guys, remember, the team has nothing to do with it. The team developed based on the acceptance criteria, and PO confirms that, okay, this product, this feature meets the AC. Like, the team has nothing to do because it is not team's fault. So reopening does not make sense here. Option B, ask the product owner to modify the acceptance. Option B is cheating, guys. So what about stakeholders' input and feedback? Because at the end of the day, stakeholders is the one needs to confirm and validate the increments, the feature. But option B suggests cheating. Like, since stakeholder does not see it, you just change the AC and you just approve. No, we don't do that. We don't cheat, guys. What about option C? Option C, recommend canceling the current sprint since the stakeholder is dissatisfied. Guys, these feedbacks, these rejections, dissatisfactions are normal things in adaptive projects. Okay, that's why we have sprint. That's why it is called adaptive. We get feedback and adapt the project plan, the product backlog. Okay, so if you get a feedback and that feedback is bad, or that feedback, there's no such a thing as bad feedback. All feedbacks are constructive, guys. Okay, just have this in mind. And we don't cancel a good sprint. Okay, the team has developed something. Stakeholders had some feedback. Why do you want to cancel a sprint? Not everything is bad about that increment. It needs some adjustments. So canceling a sprint is not a good one. A sprint cancellation is only appropriate when the sprint goal becomes obsolete, not when feedback requires backlog updates. What about option D? Facilitate clarification between stakeholder and PO so the unmet needs can be documented as new or update backlog items for prioritization. Super option, guys. Option D, meet. Facilitating a meeting means meet. It has the M part, and then it has the between, so the unmet needs can be documented. Identify the problem. It has the identify the problem and the take action part. It will add it to the product backlog for future prioritization. So option D is the best option. Suggest a good solution to resolve the issue. This was a very, very good question. Thanks for continuing. You're crushing it, and I'm proud of you. You're almost done with this part of scope management in adaptive projects. Some little things, please go review mini FAQs. There are some extra points about this ceremony sprint review that are mentioned in mini FAQs, and I'll see you in mini summary of